All right, yeah. Hello. Okay, so you know who I am. Humble servant of God. At least that's what God says. I really don't care what people say. People that learn of me know that. Okay. He gave me something. Once again, it's based on a dream. It's based on a dream. And then he gave me scriptures to back it up. Inside of this dream, put my eyes cut for something. Inside of this dream, there was a woman. And she was very tall. And she was very poised. And she was standing like in the center of the earth. She was standing in the center of the earth, stoic, expressionless, and suddenly from the earth emerges a huge altar. And I mean, it was humongous. And it stopped, I say, between her waist and breast area. And that's when I began to see the expression. But what caught my attention was when it happened, the sun came out and the rays began to shine very, 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 very brightly. As the sun began to shine, I see these people crawling up this altar. And it's a lot of people. And some of them looked so tiny. And some of them were naked. I could see the backsides. And they were crawling up upon this altar. And the lady was watching and began to smile. Then, before you know, it was mounds and mounds and mounds of people. And next thing you know, all these sexual indiscrepancies begin to happen. And that's when the lady began to laugh. I did not see the humor, but as she was laughing and clapping her hands, the sun rays began to shine brightly upon the top of the altar where all of the people were. This dream represents Salt Lake City, Utah, and other various cities of Utah, because there's a spirit of whoredom operating. And then God brought me this, the book of Revelations, where he was talking about Jezebel. And I wrote down a few notes about the lady. I wrote down that, she's a queen and she was basically forced into an arranged marriage with King Ahab of Israel, which is not relevant for what I'm about to say. But as we know, her name, some say, means where's the prince? And then the other says chase. Well, chase, as you know, is the absence. It's the absence of anything, but is speaking basically about virginity. And I thought that was interesting because she was a married woman. You can't be chaste and married. And so that gave me some insight about the mentality of the lady, because she's married, but within her spirit, within her mind, he's of no importance either. She's great all by herself. Okay, some people might think that she did not need a man. She don't need a man. Where's the prince? Where's the prince? Shouldn't the prince be exalted? But it's a woman. But anyway, her names, also means things such as wicked. I heard a man preach one day that who would name the child Jezebel. There's nothing wrong with the name Jezebel when she was a baby. Now, was it? She didn't name herself, but it's what she became, is what stigmatized the name. Okay. Um, she speaks to speak about the spirit and character of the woman. You have to go off into sensualism, which is about the gratification of just your natural senses. Okay, and to a certain extent the spiritual senses, because she's wicked, so she wants all things evil, you know. And then sexism, where she's basically intrinsically talking about how she has a superior belief. That's what this altar is about. We know that it is Bel, which is many gods, but it means more than that. But it is the plural form of Balaam. Okay, and what I want to focus on is this huge altar, which is her altar, which is given over to Bel because she is wicked. And in order for you to understand what I'm about to read, you have to understand what some of her attributes are. I just told you sensualism and sexualism. She sexes and talks about the perversions of sex and things of that nature. But then you have foolish people that don't understand that they cater to her because they're in ignorance. But God don't weaken our ignorance anymore, because the word is here for us to be educated if you seek him. Okay. Now, he gave me the second chapter of Kings, the second chapter of Revelations, and you know this is the book you add nothing. You don't add nothing or take away from God's word. But this book particular will get you tossed to hellfire for messing around. All right. But God gave it to me, the second chapter. And I'm going to start with verse 19 to 20. I know thy works, your charity and service and faith, your patience and your works, and the last be more than the first. Okay. Okay. The last be more than the first. This is speaking to fruits. You understand? Where it is where you began something because you practice it so well that regardless of what generation or new baby saint come, it is induced and it flourishes. Okay, check this out. This is talking to the churches. This part is talking to the churches only. The second chapter is basically talking to the churches. The churches in Asia Minor. But check this out. We all represent something inside of the second chapter. You have to be honest about what and who you are. You have to be honest about your weaknesses, your impurities, or your failures and flaws, and all of that. You know. But I'm not going to go through all the churches. He then gave me the 20th verse. Notwithstanding, I have a few things against thee, because thou suffer the woman Jezebel, which called herself a prophetess, to teach and to seduce my servants to commit fornication and to eat things sacrificed unto idols. That's what he gave me. And it goes with the stream. I'm asking God over and over about this stream, this raised platform, this altar, humongous altar that these people climbed up. And inside of this dream, these people were doing all this filth on top of this altar. And the sunshine lit up the earth, but the rays shined down on top of the altar to the intensity was so bright. And then I understood what God was saying. When it comes to dealing with Jezebel, it is no secret. She practiced her filth even in the open, in broad daylight for all to see, because it's about her seducing and enticing and teaching. Okay? This is what God wants me to tell the saints. Those people that was up on that altar, those did not represent the saints. Those people that climbed up that altar, those are her children. These are the people that willingly do their filth, agree with what it is that she practice and teach. This is why you see filthy people walking around here doing stuff that they might not understand why they do what they do, but they're of Jezebel. This is what caught my attention the most. So God said, I spoke to the church because they have a chance. Inside of this dream, there were people on the altar. The first thing I saw was a white man on the altar. He fell down onto his knees and he was trying to get up and raise up off of this altar. And then others began to climb up from the mouths of these flesh, sexual individuals, perverted individuals. And some of them were filthy, but when they placed their feet on the altar, they could not move. They were trying to get out. They wanted to climb back down, but they could not. And that's when God said, because the children of Jezebel do what they do, and there's no escape for them. So I warn my church, because I told you in my word that I come to kill her children. So you people who practice what Jezebel practiced, and you think it's okay, the great instigator and persecutor of the saints, this wicked woman, you do what you do, you see yourself do what you do because you are of her. And when you start persecuting saints of God because you think you know so much, you climbed up that altar willingly, and there's no way of you coming back down. But only God can pick. Now check this out. God wanted me to see how long this woman has been running, because he gives her a second chance, and her life, it is being lived out through the children who climbed the altar. He said, I want you to tell the people this. I wrote this down because this is good. He wants you to know the difference of what an actual mistake is and what an actual mistake is not. What an actual mistake is, whether you're in ignorance or not. For instance, if you mistakenly grab a navy blue handkerchief wanting a black handkerchief, and you take it to the register to pay for it, you're like, oh no, wait a minute, that's not what I wanted. I wanted a straight black. It looks black, it's just pretty dark, right? But he said, when you target someone, and when you have an idea or an aim, and you begin to attack, persecute, slander, and lie, he don't care if you don't know that it's a lie or not. It don't even matter. He said that is not a mistake. That is intentional. And he charged you with sin. He don't care if you don't know all of the factors, if it's up or down, right or wrong, a lie or the truth. He don't even care. That is beside the point. And you pay for it. And that's what he's wanting the children of Jezebel to know in Salt Lake City, all over the world. But in Salt Lake City, those who's dealing with the persecution, I'm one of them who deal with persecution of people, because you don't know what you're talking about. You are a liar. And you who spread a lie that stems from the source, that lie, is no different. Because there's no breath or power in a liar who spews out derogatory stuff, except for there's an extension. It don't matter if you know. It don't matter if you don't know. Anyway, son was praying on the altar. One of the people began to pray really hard, and I thought it was funny. I said, why is he praying? That's the child of Jezebel. He's no different than any other wicked man. The sacrifices of the wicked is an abomination. That's why he's there still on the altar. Because these type of people are going to always practice it. And they're not ashamed or fearful of who see their filth in the daylight or not. That is their mother. That is their spiritual mother. And she takes pride and applaud all of your evil works. Mixed with sexuality and sensuality, your perversion. Perversion means twisted, just to take it from the natural state. When I first learned of the word madam, I was a little girl, and I love Madam C.J. Walker, which is why I call myself Madam. We know that it is a title that stems from the 12th century, and it simply means woman, female, or lady. Somebody later on in the century then turns around and pervert the title and begin to say, well, adding sex, adding perversion, as she does, she adds the sex and the sensualism. That's what she does to every situation. That's her. And what she did was use a vessel to then pervert even the title madam by trying to relate someone who sells sex or sells people or exploit people as also a form of a madam. It's a slang, and it's not accurate. It's not accurate. Madam simply means woman, lady, female. It never means pimp, somebody who sells sex. I don't care if you do use it. I'm talking about the basics. We in America, we speak English. I'm talking about the basics, okay? That's what it means. And when I say madam, that's the only thing I'm thinking about is a lady. And I even been accused of being a pimp, and it was a lie. Once again, they said it was a white man. A white man didn't rape. The ones hiding in the shadow that God said, I'm pushing not only him out, I'm going to push his family out. Now, I described the second slang. The altar, the slang for all of the filthy abominations, sexual filthy abominations. People use it and called it an orgy. That is not even initially what the word means. Back to the basis, O-R-G-Y. It stems from the word ergon, E-R-G-O-N, which simply means work. This was also centuries ago it was made. I think this was BC when it was first originated. And it simply meant farmers who planted, had vegetables and fruits, and they toiled. And that's how they used it. Later on, centuries later, it got perverted. Some freak decided, well, sex is work. And they perverted it. Excuse me. Then I create a book. And there are some people, you don't get any more stupid than this. I create a book, the ORG, and it's about sexual preclusion. Well, if you understand what the word preclusion is, that gives you the hint about what the book's about. But people are stupid. They saw O-R-G-Y, which I use the original definition, like I'm supposed to, which means to work, which is a part of life, which had nothing to do with sensuality and sexuality, though that's also a part of life. But that is not all there is. Jezebel's job is to come and pervert everything. And she always adds some type of sexuality, something that pulls it away from the natural state. That's what she does. And she wouldn't be nothing to Satan if she did anything less. If she decided to stop perverting, she's dead. I mean, kicked out the kingdom is what I'm talking about. She's got to be doing something to please him. You think he cares about people fornicating? Just as long as you do. The saints, we get accused, especially the daughters of God, the daughters of Abraham, we get accused of all type of filth. Accused of being whores, accused of being Jezebels, accused of being all type of evil. All type of evil. And people don't know what they're talking about. And you know what God showed me? He showed me there is nothing new under the sun. This was for many servants before our generation. And it is what it is. I laughed when I got called Jezebel. I laughed. I practiced celibacy and I proudly exclaim it. I don't care what nobody's saying about me. I can care less, but it tickled me when then Sister Juanita, Mother Juanita Bynum got called one. A Jezebel. Foolishness. This is coming out the mouths of people who really don't know what she's about. And there's no such thing of being of Jezebel without the sensuality and the sexuality. I'm sorry. That component has to be present. That's what makes her who she is. This is her seducing. This is why she's seducing and enticed King Jehu in the Bible. Out of all the kings in the land, she wasn't seducing her own. She came after a man of God. You've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. I know I'm going to upload a new video. I like it. I hope you all enjoy it after this. But I just wanted the children of Jezebel to know the reason why you're not going to be able to get off the altar is because you're born to be killed by God. That's why you're there. And when God is talking to the church, you're not included in that. You do not belong to God. And we are not all God's children. Even the Christ says so when he said the children of darkness and the children of light, he made a differential, not a preferential, but he made a differential decision to speak it. He wanted you to know the difference. There are children of wickedness and there are children of the light. I'm not saying that he died for all. Even Jezebel's kids, but they're hers. And they're not coming off the altar. So you filthy, perverted abominations. Who cares what you do? All I sat back and watched was the proof that God gave me. The proof that God gave me. You all demonstrated it. People been calling me, shaking their head. But when God gave me the revelation of the vision, it all makes sense. It all makes sense now, don't it? You know, I see people and I think about the slavery. Who perverted? The pervert is Satan, but it is Jezebel that's even in that. She's in that perverting everything. It was already a bad situation. But then she wants to not only teach her filthiness on a plantation, but she wanted everybody else in the world under the broad daylight to see it. And that's the way Jezebel's children are. That's what they demonstrate. And you know what? I don't care nothing about them. They're not to be cared about. You waste your time praying for them, I'm letting you know that now. Pray for the saints. Pray for the saints. I'm not going to pray for Jezebel's children. Pray for my enemies. Oh, certainly I do. Certainly I do. Because our enemies are God's enemies, and He's the adversary of our adversary. This is the word. Tell God to give them bread and water. You tell Him to do that. You understand me? But whatever it is you pray concerning your enemies, you make sure it is real. Don't add to it and don't take away. Don't make it try to sound fancy or like nobody else's. You make sure it comes from the soul, the core of your soul. Every word. You understand? But I'm not praying for Jezebel's children because that's what they do. They want to entice others to do filth. And she was another one. When you read about this crazy chick, she was another one, just like the white taskmasters, the ancestors of the white people, and a whole bunch of them that are still here in this generation. They don't care if they're wronging you or not, and they don't care if you are innocent or not. Their ancestors didn't, and they don't. They're no different. Not here. The background has changed. This hasn't. This hasn't. God showed that Jezebel came through many, many, many generations, and her children are here now, practicing what she taught through all those generations. They make a intentional decision to climb upon that altar, and once you're there, that's it. When God's talking about suffering, the woman Jezebel, He took them and He said, "Isn't it so that a woman suffers in travail when giving birth?" I said, "Yes." He said, when I said that my church, when my saints of a particular, I think this is the church. Which church was this? Type. It starts with a T. I just want to make sure I say it right. When he's talking about women giving birth and suffering birth pains, then how it is that the children, talk about the saints, is suffering her. We can't give birth to her. So this is the church for it. You suffering something that God did not even intend for you to suffer when you're dealing with Jezebel. You understand? It's not something you're birthing. You understand? Her children, she don't birth them. They pick her. You understand? And they climb upon that altar. And they yield. And it seems okay for the moment. But once you're there, you're not getting off the altar. He's judging them. That's the end of that. What church was this? Thyatira. And is that right? Yeah, Thyatira. And so he's talking to a specific church. But when you find yourself upon an altar, committing the fornications and enticing and seducing and all this other crazy stuff, and like I said, they're in broad daylight doing it just like they do. That's what she did even in the Bible. Those altars of Baal, they did that in wide open. They wanted all of the world to join them. And so I'm just letting the children of Jezebel know, when you climb up there and get up there and start praying, you're not the children of God. You're not what God birthed into the church. You're not. You understand? You're born to be killed by God because you are her child. And he said he will kill the children of Jezebel. That's the end of that. Now, I know I've heard it preached concerning maybe he's killing off the spirit of fornication. Her children commit fornication. Fornication in itself is nothing without bodies, right? You understand? You have no business suffering her. You have no business being where her children dwell. That is not your inheritance. That is the inheritance of the wicked. And like I said, and so what if the wicked inherit? Stupid people, liars, slanderers, fornicators, killers, or whatever. Who cares? What they do, look at their inheritance. It's not ours. It is not ours. All right. I'm done. Get ready for the video. All right. You just remember one thing. God is always stronger than us. And in our weakness, his strength is made perfect. You understand? I don't care what it is, saints, that you're going through. You just tell God, by all means, Lord, I do not want to be upon that altar. You hear? I do not want to serve Baal. I do not want to be upon the altar of Baal, serving that whore Jezebel. All right? All right.